Hello, Lily Quinn here. Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to sew in an invisible zipper onto this sample garment here. This is a 9-inch invisible zipper. How do you know it's an invisible zipper? The slider here is usually oval like this. It's different from a regular zipper that is, let me see if I can find, this is a regular zipper. Okay, regular zipper has this, the slider is more like this, and the teeth is on top of the right side. But with invisible zipper, the teeth is at the wrong side and the slider is on the right side. So this is the right side of the zipper. Right sides and wrong sides of the zipper, as well as right sides and wrong sides of the fabric, will come into play a lot when we are working with this. So you get a piece of fabric, make sure it's slightly longer than the zipper. In this particular case, let me put my presser foot in and move it away. Okay, so this is my sample. Now, you can do this or put the zipper into any garment. It could be a dress, a skirt, whatever, okay? This sample is about 13.5 inches. It doesn't mean anything. It's just, it's a little longer than my 9-inch zipper, and that's all I need it to be. Now, I split the back in two. So this is more like this is how it looks. It can mimic a dress, the back of a dress. And I split the back in two because we need it to be open to put the zipper in. And then I align it. I align the back, making sure that they're matched, okay? I can put a couple of pins in just to hold it together. All right. Now, I position the zipper behind, I align it along the length of the back of the garment. And this mark here is the end of the zipper length, right? But I come forward a little bit. This is about 1.5 inches. I come higher and I mark about 1.5 inches away from the end of the zipper. That mark is where I stop. Instead of stopping at the end of the zipper when I'm sewing, I stop here, a little higher. You will understand why I do that in a bit. But now I just want to create a seam allowance. Of course, because this is a muslin and it looks the same on right side or wrong side, I just labeled it. So I choose to make this side the wrong side and the inside the right side. So I'm going to stitch beginning from the bottom, okay? And I'm just stitching with a regular straight stitch. And I'm stitching the back at 5/8. I'm doing an open seam. Okay, and I stitch a little bit. I go back to reinforce the back, and I continue stitching. The seam allowance I'm giving it is 5/8. In other words, the edge here is sitting on the 5/8 line, and I keep my eye on that line. That's all the whole time as I'm stitching. I'm keeping my eye there, and I'm stitching. I'm not ending where the zipper ended. I'm coming a little higher than the zipper, about 1.5 inches higher, and I marked it. So that's the mark here. I come all the way up there, and I reinforce. I can reinforce it a few times so that it doesn't come undone. And then I take it out, and of course I trim. Okay. Come on. All right. So here is my seam allowance. Okay, I have a red thread at the bottom, so it's a little clearer here. All right, the next thing I do is I press. Okay, of course this is a sample, so I do what we call finger press, which is the same as finger ironing or actual ironing. If you are doing, because when you do this, you are actually transferring heat to the seam allowance or to the stitches, and they turn out to flatten really well. They flatten as if I ironed it. Okay, it's called finger pressing or finger ironing. Now, when I come to the open part, I continue the same finger ironing and creasing, just creasing the seam allowance here with the same amount, the same 5/8 that I started with. I do the same creasing all the way to the top. All I'm doing is rubbing it between my fingers. Of course, you can use an iron to press it, but this crease that I'm forming is very important. Okay, so I do the same to this other side, and they are 5/8 of an inch. Okay, all the way through. So at the end of the day, you have something looking like this. Okay, you have your back sewn, and you end at that mark. That's about 1.5 inches higher than the end of the zipper. And then I crease and make sure that my back is matching nicely. Now, I want you to take note of something. Even though this is the wrong side of the garment, and you can see I've labeled it wrong side, and this is the right side of the garment, okay, the right side, or the outside. This piece, which I'm calling the seam allowance, is also right side. It's part of the right side, but it lives on the wrong side because it turns inside, so that you will see all of that, which is called the seam allowance. This is the seam allowance. You will see it on the wrong side of the fabric. Now, it's important to make sure your crease is well defined. The next thing is that this piece that has come here has a right side and a wrong side to it. So the first step is to determine the right side of the zipper. You can open it and position it in such a way that the right side of the zipper tape is sitting on the right side of the seam allowance. Okay, and both sides of the zipper tape are sitting right side to right side. Right side of zipper is sitting on right side of seam allowance. Okay, and we go ahead and pin. Make sure you start exactly at the beginning of the neckline, or the top where it's supposed to start. Then you just keep pinning. Now, the pinning is strategic. You have to pin right side to right side first, with the raw edge of the zipper facing raw edge of fabric, but the teeth of the zipper is sitting on the crease. The crease we made, yeah. You're pinning so that the teeth is sitting on the crease. So we pin, and we pin beyond where we stopped. That's the genius of this method. You pin below throughout the zipper tape, right? But inside the garment, it will stop here. Anyway, so we do the same thing to the other side, of course, and we pin again, making sure that the raw edge of the zipper is facing the raw edge of the seam allowance. One problem that I have seen with invisible zipper installation is that many times people struggle with the alignment. One side can seem to be longer than the other side, or puckered and things like that. So this is where you have to make all your corrections so that you are not pinning and puckered at the same time. So it's important that your teeth is aligned or is sitting on the crease. Okay, and it's beginning at the same point with the other one. So we have something looking like this. All right, positioned. Now we go to the machine. I like to sew this in 2-step. Okay, so I bring one side here. The first step is just to remove the pins, or I'll call it machine basting. I'm just basting, and I shift my needle towards the center, towards the left edge, so that I can just baste. And I'm sliding my pin out, and I'm just doing a quick big stitch basting. But it can stay in the fabric. This particular stitch can stay in the fabric. All it's doing is replacing my pins. Very important. And watch how I'm sewing. I'm not attaching this seam allowance to anything. I'm just sewing only in the seam allowance. So I spread it open and I keep going. When I get to the slider, this whole bulky thing gets in the way. But I'm just going to maneuver. And remember, I haven't changed my zipper foot yet. I have to change it to a regular zipper foot before I can get into the second stitching. Like I said, I do it in 2 steps. I use this basting to hold it before I go in and stitch. The real stitching is done inside the coil here. Inside. This is where the stitching is done. All right. Now, I'm going to flip and stitch. Take the pins out. It's just supposed to replace the pins for me as I navigate. So I don't care about this particular stitch, even if it's not straight, it's basting. It's just holding my tape, my zipper tape onto the fabric for me. Now, this particular basting stitch, or you could use a regular machine stitch for that. It's just replacing the pins so that I'm not having to deal with pins while I'm doing my originals, the real stitching. And now I have to change the zipper. The foot. So I put in my zipper foot. Make sure the needle is in the middle so that it's not hitting it. All right. What side of the zipper foot do you use when you're sewing? When I turn the garment this way, the right side of the garment goes with the right side of the zipper foot. So I'm going to and the left side goes with the left side. So I'm going to turn it like this. This is the right side, and I'm putting it here. Okay. Now, this tab here of the zipper foot, I need it to be sitting, as I'm going, I need it to be sitting inside the crease. See, when you open the teeth, that's when you really see the actual crease. Sometimes this is called the coil zipper, okay? So I want my this tab over here to sit inside the crease, and this time I'm putting in a permanent stitch, so it's going to be, the setting is going to be 2.5 to 3. Yes. And so as I go, you will see that this tab here is literally parting, plus your fingers. Okay, your fingers help to part it for you, and just let it go. Just let it go. Just glide it through, because the tab is helping. Okay. That's the cool thing about this. The tab is helping you, and you're using your fingers to open the teeth as well. All right, and keep going. Remember, I have a stopper. I stopped it somewhere, so I keep going until it can't go any further. That's the reason why we leave that 1.5 inch distance, so I don't go all the way struggling. Okay. The next part, I'm going to switch this from the right to the left. Put it under and lower the foot. Okay, and put the threads behind. Now I grab the other side of the zipper tape. Make sure it is open and flat like this. And then bring the tab again inside. The cool thing is that because of this first stitching, the tape is now moving, it's stable. You don't have to struggle. You don't hit the teeth, because when you hit the teeth, you'll be in trouble. The zipper will be damaged. So this is how it goes. Anyway. All the way till it can't go no further. Okay. Now the moment of truth. All right. So as you can see, because we came up a little higher, my slider is kind of hidden over here. But no worries, I can just push. I can just push it until the slider shows up. Or I can use there's something called an owl, but I don't have it right here. I'm going to use a big pin to push it forward. Oh dear, it's kind of hidden. Anyway, it's still coming. Let me keep, sometimes you can use it to hook. Come on. All right. You know what? I need to find my owl, and then I'll show you. Or I can just use a pen. I'm going to use this pen to push it out, because my slider is hidden. Come on. It shouldn't get stuck, but it feels like that right now. Oh, I see. The slider went where it has no business going. It got stuck here. Okay. So I can push it out. There we go. Okay. So now I can go ahead and close it. There we go. Okay. Okay, so now if I want to close, it will stop exactly where we created that stop. All right, even though the zipper itself comes all the way down, it stops right there where we did the stop. And you can open and close as you want or will. All right, thank you, and have fun sewing zippered pouch. Sorry, an invisible zipper. Bye.